By the way, one thing we can say for sure, if anybody thought that VAR was going to eliminate controversy from the sport, we all can say clearly now that's not the case, because we still have a lot of controversy even though VAR is being implemented. Oh boy, is this La Liga race getting good. A three-horse race now. Real Madrid at 50 points, Atletico Madrid on 49, and Barcelona with the best goal differential of the three sitting on 48 points. I mean, this is anybody's race right now, isn't it?
This is a spicy tapas dish, isn't it? This top half of the table, the title race. Who knows which way this is going to go? I think this gave an opportunity, didn't it? We said in the pre-game yesterday, the Madrid derby between Real Madrid and Atletico. If it finishes in a draw, this presents a great opportunity for Barcelona. And Sevilla gave a good account of themselves. They played well, they fought back after that first goal, but ultimately a 4-1 victory. If you'd offered that to Hansi Flick and the Barcelona players prior to the game, they would have ripped your arm off and ran back to Barcelona with it. They got the job done, they got the 3 points, and they've made it really interesting in the title race.
So we watch these storylines now. One of the things we've been speaking about with Real Madrid is the fact that they're thin on the back line with some of the injuries that they've had. Barcelona have had to juggle things on the back line. They look like they were starting to get healthy, but today Araujo goes down with an injury and has to be replaced by Garcia, the 18-year-old who's played a lot of minutes for them once again. And I'm just wondering, we talk about that high line for Barcelona. It requires chemistry. It requires communication. We don't know how serious this injury is going to be on the back line. How big of a storyline are these defensive injuries at the top of the table going to be in La Liga?
It's certainly a concern for Hansi Flick, especially as they get busy again once the Champions League, because they're through to the knockout stages. Of course, they've earned the right to have a little bit of a break in some of those midweeks and not have to play in the playoffs. But it's going to get busy once their schedule starts to get back to midweek and weekend performances. But ultimately, they did get the job done today. It was a great performance. They won 4-1. They still play this high line. I think Hansi Flick is going to, regardless of who he has to put in the defensive back line, he's going to stick to that style of play because that's what he thinks is the best way to get the best out of this young, exciting team. They've certainly got energy. I think that's one of the bonuses, I suppose, of him being forced into playing so many young players because of the financial difficulties. They're full of energy. They're not exactly tired. And I think he's going to stick to his guns.
Yeah, for whatever reason, what is and is not a penalty in La Liga has become a big topic over the weekend. Obviously, there was a lot of controversy about the penalty shout that ended up going the way of Atletico Madrid in the match on Saturday. This one was a penalty that wasn't called. That becomes a big talking point of the game. And there's the freeze frame, as you said. You see the hand on the back. For me, Adam, I don't see much of a push there. I see a player falling over easily, but we've seen less given.
I was going to say, that's for me, in the modern game, this is a penalty. We've seen them for far less. The hand is on the back, as you said, not much of a push. 10, 15 years ago, absolutely no chance. We would not be saying this is a penalty. But these days, when attacking players feel an arm or a hand on their back, what do? They do exactly what the attacking player did there and go down, which he did. And the penalty is more often than not given because the referee thinks, oh, well, there's obviously contact, I can see that. And the player's gone down. So I am very, very surprised that was not given as a penalty. In modern football, I think 9 times out of 10, we see something like that, the whistle's blown and the referee's given a penalty.
And the reason that we talk about this so much is because the consequence of a penalty in the Madrid derby, that's the difference possibly between 2 and 3 points. This situation here, we're talking about a match that's level at the time. And you're talking about Sevilla possibly going up a goal if they get this penalty. Or, I'm sorry, leveling the match. No, it would have been going up a goal because then the goal happened that put Barcelona in front right after that. So these are massive talking points through the course of a game. And I think what happens when it comes in the context of what we saw just a day earlier, going to VAR and overturning a call. This one wasn't checked. Oh, it was checked. Every play is checked, but it didn't go back to VAR, and it wasn't looked at. And I think that's what starts to make people wonder about the consistency of these calls.
For sure. I think it's one of those points where, and we saw it later on in the game, and we talk about the red card for Fermin Lopez. The incident there, when you look at the replay, and this is, I think, the danger in the modern game, because we have the ability to see these really clear ultra high definition replays that are slowed right down, it can make things look far worse than they actually were in real time. And that's why often when I make a judgment on a call, when I'm watching it, either in the studio or if I've got the opportunity to be at a game, see it first time. What's your immediate gut reaction to when you've seen it, real time, and then look at the replay. Does that confirm what your initial gut reaction was? And also ask yourself, when you look at a replay and something's been slowed down 300 times, well, yeah, kind of it does look bad because the studs are up and there's a little bit of contact, but does that necessarily make it a foul? And I think these are the questions that need to be asked. I mean, that penalty was a good point. The hand was on the back. If you show the freeze frame, there's definitely contact. But was it a push? As you said, it probably wasn't.
Remembering the timeline through the course of the game, just to clarify, yes, that would have tied the match if they had gotten the penalty and converted, because Fermin Lopez had already scored.
Yeah, it would have made it 2-2.
Yeah,
if they got a penalty and scored, it would have been 2-2.
Would have made it 2-2, so that does make it still a very big talking point in the game. And then it goes to the red card you mentioned with Fermin Lopez. And I think one of the things about replay as well, by the way, one thing we can say for sure, if anybody thought that VAR was going to eliminate controversy from the sport, we all can say clearly now that's not the case, because we still have a lot of controversy even though VAR is being implemented. This one, though, we were watching it live, and I felt like this is maybe an orange card. But then when you saw it from this angle right here, that could have easily ended in a broken leg.
Yeah, I think this is one where when you see it slowed down, you do see that the contact, the studs are up, the distance he travelled. There's all when you talk about these kind of challenges, whether the player is in control or out of control. And I agree, maybe it wasn't fully all the way to a red card, but it was on the seriously red end of an orange card if ever there was one. And I think in the end probably the right decision to send him off. But unfortunately, I go back to the same point I made about the penalty. These are the kind of things that not that long ago would have been allowed by the referee. This was a perfectly fair challenge in our game, but the game has changed and players have to expect to be sent off for that kind of thing.
Before he was sent off, though, the goal from Lopez turns out to be one of the biggest moments in the match. He's got 4 goals in his last 5 games. So much talk, rightfully so, about Raphinha and Lamine Yamal and Lewandowski. Fermin Lopez deserves some flowers right now for what he's doing for Barcelona.
Oh,
absolutely.
I mean, he's obviously scoring the goals, as you mentioned there, but I think the really good thing that he brings to this team every single week, game in, game out, and something that Hansi Flick absolutely loves is his work rate. His work rate is outstanding. He just never stops. You've got to send him off to slow him down. He just goes end to end, end to end, end to end. His dynamism with the ball at his feet and when he's off the ball is incredible. And he's an elder statesman when you compare him to the likes of Lamine Yamal. I mean, he's 21 years of age compared to 17 for Yamal, but he's still in that core group of young players that are delivering for Hansi Flick week in, week out. He's a really exciting player. And I just think, when I think about this Barcelona team that we've loved watching this season and the way that they're playing, how many of these young players, I mean, obviously Yamal we would have done, but how many of these young players like Fermin Lopez would we have got the chance to see if they hadn't have had these financial issues? This is one of the unknown positives, really, that we never would have thought about because of these financial issues that Barcelona have had, and they can't sign the big names that they have done previously. That's forced the coaching team's hand, that they've got to dip into the academy and find these gems, and Fermin Lopez has proved to be one of those. And I think for us as football fans and neutrals, enjoying watching this Barcelona team and how exciting they are with so many great young players, because I don't know how many of them we would have seen if it just continued on the normal trajectory, maybe 1 or 2 of them.
It does seem like a recurring cycle at Barcelona. They get in trouble financially, they have to play their young players are great, then they decide they need to spend money, they get in financial trouble, and they do it again.
Exactly, and I think it's a point that is proven to the rest of the football world that the kids are all right, as Fergie said. You've got to give these I say children, some of them are kids, these young players an opportunity, because within reason, you have to put them in a side, and I think that's what's also helped for Hansi Flick is he's got the experienced players like Robert Lewandowski, some of the others who are in this team that the youngsters can really rally around and learn from on the training ground day in, day out, seeing how Robert Lewandowski goes about being, the modern footballer and being able to score so many goals consistently, and everything that he brings to his professionalism, that's going to help these players learn. But you've got to give them an opportunity, and I think this has proven, and what Hansi Flick has done this season in the Champions League and in the League, and in the other cup competitions, of course, that they're doing so well in, like the Copa del Rey, is if you give them a chance and you show them confidence in their abilities, they will reward you.
One player who's playing with a ton of confidence right now is Raphinha. 24 goals. That's 6 more than any other season in his career already. And we're in February. What about the year he's having, the difference that he has made? All of a sudden, when you put him into that attack, this has to be one of the best attacking sides in the entire world of football right now.
As a side, but also as a player. I mean, this is Raphinha Mark II. I think of the difference we saw when he was in English football playing for Leeds. We saw the potential that he had. Obviously, that was why he got signed by a club as big as Barcelona. We knew that he was potentially capable of delivering these kind of numbers, but it really is amazing to see that he's finally got there. 35 appearances, 24 goals this season, 13 assists as well. That's the thing for Raphinha, and I think where his game has developed so much is he's lethal in front of goals, scores goals, but he also contributes for the players around him too. Robert Lewandowski has spoken a couple of times in the last 2 weeks or so about how much he enjoys playing with Raphinha and the opportunities that he gives him. Lewandowski was saying that there's no way I would have scored the number of goals I've scored this season if I didn't get to play alongside someone like Raphinha, who's just setting me up week in, week out. And he seems to be enjoying it. He's obviously enjoying the challenge of working alongside all of these youngsters, and I think that he is arguably the reason why this Barcelona team has been so exciting to watch and been so strong this season in all competitions.
Lewandowski wasn't happy last year, and he wanted to have some say in the managerial change, it sounded like, and it looks like so far, so good for Barcelona. That La Liga race is really heating up, and it's going to be a lot of fun.